Good morning, students of level 8 of Falcon House Grammar School Campus 9. This is Mashaal here. Today, we're basically going to be starting a review of our history syllabus for the final term. Now, we have two chapters in the final term syllabus, one of them being the war and the causes, the basically war of independence of 1857, and the second one is of regional languages. So, we're going to talk about the war of independence first. It's not that long and it's neither that technical. It's pretty basic. We have done it already, so I'm going to breeze past it. I hope that you'll be able to understand it. So let's begin. Let's talk about war of independence. Now we know that war of independence was what? It was basically a war. It was basically a rebellion of by the Indians. Of the by the Indians, basically by Indians I mean the people of the subcontinent, against the rule of the Britishers. Now the Britishers term it as the Great Indian Mutiny, whereas the Indians term it War of Independence. Now the difference between the two terms can easily represent the kind of feeling, the kind of exactly the kind of feeling the both had towards this war of independence. The Indians saw it as a way to be get freedom from the Britishers, where the Britishers saw it as a threat to their rule. Okay, so war of independence happened, and we know what happened as a result of it. The Indians tried to gain freedom, but however they were the war was they were horribly defeated in that. Okay, and the Britishers not only won it, but they actually went on to strengthen their rule after the war. Okay, so let's talk about the causes of the war of independence. What made the Indians fight this war, begin this war? Now there were multiple causes of it. We're going to go through them one by one. The first one was basically political. The Britishers were seen as land grabbers. They were trying to accumulate as much land as possible, and for reasons that were illogical. Okay, that made no sense. For example, doctrine of lapse was one such rule which was brought by the Britishers, which stated that if any ruler of any land or any state dies and he has no heir apparent, then the land would be taken up by the Britishers. Now, first of all, this made no sense at all, because the title can be passed on to the next of the kin. However, British they claim that they should have the right over the state. However, the state of Oudh, where the ruler died, and although he had many male heirs, the Britishers claimed that the ruler who died was not able to rule the land in a fit way. So therefore, they took over the land, even though he had many male heirs. Now this basically many Indians saw it as that the Britishers were just trying to accumulate as much land as possible for any reason possible. They were trying to build up excuses to get as much land as possible. So this kind of angered them. Also, there was religious and social reasons. Now socially, the Britishers thought of Indians as very primitive, very backward people. There were there are accounts given of the Britishers being mean and arrogant towards Indians, and thinking them as very socially backward people. In fact, one English administrator, as early as 1835, stated how a single good shelf of European library was worth more than the whole native literature of India and Arabia. So a single good shelf of European library, a single good shelf is worth more than the entire native literature of India and Arabia. That just shows the kind of arrogance that the Britishers had towards Indians. Okay, there were many clubs, there were there were gymkhanas and all that, where the Indians were not allowed, and only the Britishers were allowed, to be members of it. There was segregation and whatnot. So this basically, that angered the Indians, because they felt that they were being treated as second-class citizens in their own country. Religious reasons, because the Indians thought that because there were so many Christian missionaries coming into the country trying to spread Christianity, the Indians thought that their religion, Islam, Hinduism, Sikhism, Judaism, not Judaism but Jainism, all of that was being threatened, and the Britishers were trying to convert as many people as possible to their religion. Economic again was one of the reasons, because the Britishers used to tax heavily They used to tax heavily on Indians on almost every industry. Whether it be farmers, whether they be factory owners, and whatnot, tradesmen, merchants, whatnot. They used to tax heavily, and they used to accumulate large amount of taxes. The Indians felt that they were not making enough money themselves in the first place, and then being taxed so rigorously, so heavily, just showed that the Britishers did not want any did not want to do any benefit to the Indians. They were just out there trying to deepen their own pockets. And lastly, there was militaries. And now military, as we know, was basically filled with sepoys, the Indian soldiers. However, when you talk about the hierarchy, when you talk about the people who were at the top, all of them were basically Britishers. We are basically told that the lower level of army was basically filled with Indian soldiers, whereas when you talk about generals, majors, all of them were Britishers. Indians felt that they were not being given any opportunity to go higher up the rank, and this caused quite a frustration. And secondly, there was the famous grease cartridge issue, if you remember, where basically a new weapon or new pistol was basically designed where the gunpowder was basically put in a grease cartridge, and in order to unload the grease cartridge into the pistol, you had to basically bite off the top of the grease cartridge, and it was rumored that it was basically made up of pig and cat's fat, and neither the Muslims nor the Hindus were willing to basically use it, because it went against their religious beliefs. Okay, so all these reasons combining together, caused enough frustration and anger for the Indians to rise up against the Britishers and start this war of independence. Now, these were the causes and the reasons. Okay, in the next session, we're going to talk about the events and the aftermath of the war of independence. I hope you've understood it up till now. Again, if you have any questions, you can always get back to me. All right, take care, everyone. Allah Hafiz.